This is the cheapest BMW that you'll ever find. Let me tell you its story.
I bought this BMW for just $385, but of course, there's a catch. This car has been abandoned and neglected for years. The previous owner just wanted one thing, to get rid of it. So of course, I kept bidding, and the next thing you know, I won it. This car has every problem you can imagine. Oil leaks, smoking exhaust, rough interior, and a long list of issues that most people would walk away from. But I'm not most people. My plan is to bring this car back to perfection and turn it to one of the cleanest BMWs that you will see on New Zealand roads. I believe that every car can be fixed.
Here's the game plan. We're gonna start with the easy but critical stuff first, the radiator. Afterwards, we're gonna go through the engine to find all the leaks and fix it. And afterwards, the fun stuff, suspensions, completely fix the interior and the exterior of the car. Let's go.
Removing the radiator is one of the easiest jobs on this car. You can see me here disconnecting all hoses, electrical connections, and bolts to take out the fan. Once that's out, the radiator is held by just few screws. Then you can pull it out freely.
The radiator, the first part that we have ordered. I'm so excited to put it in.
Installing the radiator is just the same process in reverse. You can see me now placing the radiator back in, followed by the fan, and finally reconnecting all the hoses and electrical connectors and everything we have removed earlier.
Now let's tackle the oil leaks. I've got all the seals and gaskets that I think are needed, and the replacement process should be straight to the point. After that, we'll move on to what I hope the last big issue, the white smoke from the exhaust. I have few theories about that, but let's not rush things. Let's finish the oil leaks and worry about that later on.
The infamous BMW oil pan gasket leak. Almost every BMW will need this fix at some point. It's a simple and straightforward job, but there is one problem. The subframe is in the way, and since the engine mounts sit on the subframe, you will need to support or lift the engine while doing this. It's pretty much the same across all BMWs, even the newer ones. Once you unbolt the subframe, you can lower it down and remove the oil pan bolts and take it off the car. The old gasket was completely fried and of course leaking oil everywhere. So we're replacing it with a fresh one. After that, it's just a matter of reversing all the previous steps and finally torquing everything back to spec. And now we are good to go.
New radiator done, new seals and gaskets all replaced. It's time to start the engine. But there are two things that I always do before starting any engine. Check for any air leaks and check for the fuel pressure. To check for any air leaks, I always use the smoke machine. I've had it for ages. It blows smoke through the air intake of the engine, and if there's any leak, you're gonna see it straight away.
The sign that I was waiting for was when the smoke machine hose folds off, because that indicates we have no air leaks, starting from the air intake all the way to the combustion chamber. Now we are sure that there are no air leaks, or so I thought. Turns out I missed something crucial, and I'm going to have to deal with the consequences very soon. It's time to test the fuel lines. You can see me connecting the fuel pressure gauge right before the fuel reaches the injectors. A good reading should be between 50 to 72 psi. Now I'll prime the car and then start it, to see if we're getting the proper fuel pressure or no. Of course, not enough fuel pressure at all. Disappointing. But to be honest, I'm not surprised at all, knowing the car's condition. That's why you can hear the car running extremely rough. But let's figure out why the pressure is so low and trace the issue. The pressure reading at the fuel pressure regulator should be, you guessed it, 50 to 70 psi. But on my BMW, it was just 10 psi. At that point, I knew I had a bad fuel pressure pump, so it's time to change it. A second-hand fuel pump for my BMW costs $180. It's almost half the price of the car. After about 10 minutes, I managed to get the old fuel pump out and replace it with a new one, hoping this will fix the rough idle.
The fuel pressure is at 40 psi now, which is okay, but the engine is still running rough. You know those moments when you just want to park the car somewhere and forget that it existed in your life in the first place? That's how I feel right now.
But then, after taking a step back, I got it. The previous owner literally told us the problem. There is oil in the exhaust. I know this can be caused by so many things, head gasket failure, valve seals, and bunch of other issues. But to get to the bottom of it, I had to remove the engine cover once again and take a proper look this time. Maybe, just maybe, it's something obvious to the eye. This is the air intake and this is the exhaust side of the engine. Think of them like windows, controlling the airflow in and out. Both shafts are linked by the timing chain, which keeps them in sync and ensure that they rotate at the exact same speed and maintain the right alignment. You can check the alignment from the back of the engine or through these holes. In my case, the timing chain is stretched out, causing the engine to skip a tooth and mess up the timing. Luckily for us, replacing the timing chain on this engine is so easy. It doesn't even require removing the engine from the car. You can see me now removing the air intake and the exhaust camshaft's police gears. These are held by 2 screws, which helps loosen up the chain. Next, I loosen the bolts securing the plastic guides. Once those are out, there's just one last bolt to remove. The main crankshaft bolt. Everything was going smooth until this happened. The bolt was so tight, no matter what I did, it wouldn't budge.
The torque on this bolt is so high because that's the main bolt in the pulley.
So I went out and got the toughest air impact gun on the market.
What do you think about it now? 1,600 Newton meters.
The new impact gun made it feel like a walk in the park. And finally, the bolt is out. Now we are back on track.
Oh, finally! I'm currently the happiest person on the planet who got the chain out, and let me show you. That's the old chain next to the new one, and you will see a tiny bit of stretch over here. That stretch, that was what caused the whole issue. So the old chain was a tiny bit longer, maybe a few millimeters. That made the engine skip some teeth while just rotating. Imagine how precise this engine is. But now, we get to put the new chain on.
Now I'm installing the new chain, which is just the reverse of taking everything apart. While doing so, let me tell you that this BMW V series will probably be in 4 parts. Because I'm a big fan of tech, I'll be loading the car with the latest gadgets for both the interior and the exterior. Once the car is done, I will raffle it off to one of my subscribers for just $10 per entry. And since no one really knows about me in New Zealand, your chances are pretty high. Now back to the car. The last thing that I had to do was to install the engine cover, making sure everything lined up perfectly. Once it was in place, I torqued all the bolts to BMW's exact specs, because every bolt needs to be tightened precisely to avoid any issues down.
Done! Timing chain done. Let's go through everything that we've done so far. We've changed the radiator, and then afterwards we've done all the seals and gaskets, and then we did the fuel pump in the back, and then we did the timing chain. Now it's time to start the car. Literally anything can happen right now. Okay.
I was walking out one evening.
It started. The car said just fine.
The car doesn't have any smoke in the exhaust anymore.
Look at the idle.
I am so proud.
I cannot be happier than that.
But all of that is nothing compared to what I have planned for this car
What a
in the
journey.
next video.